Welcome to the Brutiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
And if I sound happy, it's because after the move, I finally officially got my little studio set up and I feel normal doing a pod. I'm not cramped on a bed, holding a Bluetooth thing to my head that was broken, trying to record. It's been a mess, and I'm excited for some kind of little sense of normalcy. Speaking of normalcy, London is red.
Is that normal?
That's right.
I don't know.
That's
That's
not as of like April last year, right?
That's all
Because
that
I believe London was blue and
The dark days.
Tottenham's in the Champions League and Arsenal's not. So
we are top of the table, and London is red as Arsenal beat Tottenham in the North London derby. Manchester, however, is decidedly a sky blue shade as Erling Haaland puts another hat trick along with Phil Foden as they put 6 past Manchester United. I would like to point out to Ferris that I said you can beat Manchester United, you can't beat Haaland. Well, man, you did score 3 goals and knocked out Foden's and could have drawn the goal, but you couldn't beat Haaland. So I would like to say my prediction held.
that's not how I saw it. But hey, you know what? Your math is back because you're an Arsenal fan, so I'll take it.
I'm just saying. I said it's Haaland you couldn't beat. Man City, maybe.
God, what a beast he is! Holy mackerel!
We'll get there.
And then on over, keeping things blue, Graham Potter gets his first Premier League win with Chelsea as former Palace loanee Conor Gallagher gets the winner. What a delightful young chap comes along, across so nice in the post-match interviews. Just a very pleasant.
He has a nice set of hair too on him, doesn't he? Nice
Pleasant
blonde
lad.
locks. Yeah.
We also look at some results from around the league, and then we're going to take a short pause on soccer as the Sultan of Sausage.
Oh, that's going to stay a thing.
Prince of Batesla enlightens us with a little more of the beer news from the world of beer before we end with a pod check-in on the MLS and the NWSL. But first, to get it out, our beer. I guess I should go first because Ron's still freshly back from Germany and has something really super cool to talk about.
I'm excited about these.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, here we go. Ron just got back from Oktoberfest, and in his honor, but staying true to my new East Tennessee living arrangements, I got in the Oktoberfest, I'm going to say this wrong, Gimmellickent. I don't know. If you can read that, all the better for you. But this is from Wiseacre Brewing over in Memphis,
cool.
Tennessee. This is their Oktoberfest. To give you a quick little rundown. It's Oktoberfest is a Marsden smooth, clean malt forward German lager, traditionally released each September for Oktoberfest in Munich. Toasty bread, subtle wheat malt qualities emerge right before the beer abruptly and cleanly finishes. I think Ron and I tried Wiseacre the first time on a gig out in Memphis.
Oh yeah.
Gimmellickent. Oh man, I don't know.
God
It's a
bless you.
German word referring to a communal joy, usually involving a beer or two, and is prominent in the traditional Oktoberfest song Ein Prost. Well, I should actually know the word then because I probably sung it, but I didn't realize what I was saying.
Right.
But
It's not easy to
No.
understand any of it. So
Not at all, but that's a good word for us. I like that. A German word referring to a communal joy involving a beer or two. 6% ABV, IBU 24. If you care about those things, bittering hops are Bravo, and the malts are Munich, Vienna, Pilsner, and Melanoiden, which kind of sounds like a George Lucas alien. And the yeast is lager. And I love Wiseacre as or any brewery that does that, where they kind of put the stuff down for any home brewer types that want to learn what's going on. Also, just before we go to your beer, Ron, I was curious because this can had a QR code on it, and it said this is the visual dissonance edition. So read more about the visual dissonance of our current cans. And I thought it was going to be something cool, but actually it's like beer news adjacent from probably a year ago that you did. Okay. And when you scan it, it brings you up to a website. It says messaging from the good folks here at Wiseacre in the 2020s, which means there are a lot of unforeseen challenges not known at the start of the year. For anybody relying on aluminum cans, whether it be beer, soda, seltzer, or other, that means supply and demand chart scale is tipped too far in one direction. If you're seeing this, you've already seen others struggle with inventory or finished products. or have alternative packaging as a stopgap solution. Because of can supply issues, we at Wiseacre are labeling up many of our core beers and cans we already had printed on other brands. We know it doesn't look the best, but it's how we must navigate to continue along to get the beer out. The tiny bomb may look a little different, but the beer inside is the same as always. So I don't know because I didn't peel the label off this, but this is not part of the can as usual. It is actually a blank aluminum can that's got the sticker label on it. And that's not what they usually do. If you go to their website, it's like a full, the art's fully immersed in the can. So anyway, I just thought it was cool. Little throwback to a year and a half ago beer news about the aluminum can situation still going on.
Right. Still
that's cool.
Reaching out into the industry.
Yeah.
Well,
that's cool. It's East Tennessee Oktoberfest. Woo, it's awesome. It's going to be delicious. No knocking you, Wiseacre. Now here's Ron with his stuff fresh from Oktoberfest in Germany. Over to you.
That's
I'm not bitter at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, man. So, obviously, while I was in Germany, I mentioned on the last pod that we ended up making it out to a monastery, the Kloster Andex Monastery, which is not a Trappist monastery, but...
Well, real quick, Ron, could you explain to everybody what a Trappist monastery is as opposed to not a Trappist monastery? It's been a bit. Because, we say, we use those terms, and if you're not much into beer, you're not much into the brewery world, you may be wondering what exactly are those two.
Sure. So the Trappist monastery is a monastery that makes beer from its own ingredients grown on the monastery property, all the wheats, all the barleys, all the hops, everything. It's made specifically by the monks. And then the sale of that specifically supports just the monastery and its kind of charitable causes. So there's 12 what I should say registered Trappist breweries in the entire world. Most of them are in Belgium, and there's one in the U.S. in New York State.
Oh, no kidding. I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, but the rest are all in Europe. This one, the Kloster Andex, is essentially in Upper Bavaria. The exact, it is a Benedictine priory in the municipality of Andex in the Landkreis of Starnberg in Upper Bavaria, Germany.
Oh yeah, I know that place.
Yeah, right down the street. Right. In order to get there, I took a train, 2 buses, and a nice long walk. It's about an hour and change southwest of Munich proper. So these guys make a ton of really great beer. They're open every day. You can buy food, you can buy beer, souvenirs, all that kind of stuff. This monastery got its start in like right around 1138, the year 1138. In the year 955, relics were brought from Rome up there, and it was essentially, the very long story short is they bring these relics up into Bavaria to protect them from everything going on in Italy at the time. And these relics essentially became a place or a reason to pilgrimage. And so since some of these relics were in the monastery, people would come from far and wide on this kind of pilgrimage trail, and they would pay their respects to, all these relics that were consecrated by Pope Gregory I and Leo IX. And so they would stay and eat and drink from the monastery. So this place has a hugely rich history. It eventually ends up being deserted due to a bunch of wars and a bunch of other political unrest. And then in 1803, it comes back, and it's been operating ever since 1803. So
that, awesome.
The beer I have is their Weiss beer, their Helles Weiss beer. And this is,
heck yeah.
We're actually going to have two because I only have basically, it's a taster for each of us. We're going to have their Helles and we're going to have their Dunkel. So first we'll go with their kind of Helles lager / fest beer, if you will. And that, having had this already, it's quite amazing. It's got kind of a light honey color, which makes it really eye-catching. There's this kind of opalescence with the yeast, swirling around after you pour. It's got a very creamy, fine head that really just makes everything so aromatic. You get aromatics like a bit of honeydew melon, a little bit of banana, and then you're going to get some cloves. It's a really tangy beer when you drink it, with kind of a soft body that has, like I said, that honey mixed with a little bit of acidity and from that bitterness of the hops and all that. So
we call that the Granite Jacques style.
The bitterness?
The bitter and the honey, yeah.
Yeah. So that's our first one.
Ferris, I can tell it on his face.
It was a big eye roll. Like, we're not starting dad jokes early. Come on.
So that'll be the first one, and when we're done this and we get to a good spot, we'll jump over to the Dunkel.
You know what I miss, guys? I miss just saddling up to the bar with you and just standing next to the bar. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, yeah, there we go. Let's just raise this desk on up a little bit. That's right. It's a visual medium. I know it's not, but I got my little stand-up desk so I could feel like I'm sitting at the bar with you guys. So I hit the little button.
Oh my God.
Folks, I have no clue what the hell just happened.
He has a motorized desk.
But this is an audio podcast.
Yeah, did you hear the motor?
Yeah. I wish you would have told us that. I would have recorded that what you just did and posted that.
I feel like I'm standing at the bar now.
Oh, you are standing now. I can confirm that.
Yeah, that's right. See what that does for the energy of the recording. See if it gives me a little more pep in my step.
Oh my God, what is wrong with him?
Good Lord.
I'll try not to get any more pep because Ferris already had enough of that.
Oh,
Bazinga.
He set that one up from yesterday.
He's been holding that in for a while.
Yeah, he has. Okay, all poured out.
It's almost like a full beer out of that thing for each of us.
Oh, perfect.
Look at that head retention.
That is at least from the webcam, very gold and hazy. Looks nice.
Yeah, and we're going to remain seated. We're not going to stand at the bar with you. Sorry.
Good, because you'll rip your headphones off if you do.
I have done that before.
Okay.
All right, gents, here we go.
Cheers. Cheers. Prost. Oh,
man.
They're exactly right. You get, I don't really get the banana out of it very much.
I do. Very, very, very slight.
I get the honeydew. I get that sweetness and then that clove run right at the end.
Yeah, I get that very slight banana taste.
This is definitely, as it's supposed to be, a more simple thing. It's a pretty good Marzen. It's very smooth. It's what I call the classic American craft brew Marzen. I always feel like American craft brews are always they're more bready. Got like a sweet, syrupy vibe that a lot of the German ones don't have. They're a little more crisper, but it's good. I haven't had anything from Wiseacre I didn't like so far.
This beer is, I could swim in a vat of this.
You know what? There's an OnlyFans for that, Ron. You can make yourself.
Actually, we can do that. We can actually do that here.
Yeah, in Orlando, they have a beer spot here.
So we all have to quit our jobs because we couldn't have jobs and do this, and then we just always do the pod from a vat of beer. And it'll be somebody's fetish, and we'll make a killing.
That's oh man,
that's gross and
that
amazing.
Is how did the you need to sit down. The podcast turned into
got weird.
Can you imagine that? A brutal game OnlyFans? God, that would be terrible. No, nobody
I think
wants
we
to
have
see
to
that.
do it.
Well, why?
Yeah.
Because
no.
Here's what we do. We don't actually put ourselves in it.
Okay.
But it's like we do, like, pardon the expression, this is going to sound weird, but beer porn. Right? All the beer pictures that we've been taking of, like, mountains and all that. That's like, why aren't we putting that up there?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, nobody wants to pay to see that crap.
How do you
Google
know?
it. I don't know the answer to that. There's probably somebody that is. There's somebody that sells their farts in jars to people on OnlyFans. That's
yes.
Like she's gorgeous, but that's what the. No, I do not want a $9.99 jar of your smelly air. What happened here with this pod?
This pod is perfect. Seal this in a jar and hold it for posterity, because this pod is a good one.
I'm not going to ask Ferris's frame of reference about all that.
I know.
No, it's made like headlines. You know,
it's the person that was doing that. Yep. I know exactly. I mean, I didn't see the OnlyFans. I saw the news.
No, yeah, I haven't seen that. I just saw like there's this article on that from anybody follows on Instagram, Narcity. They post a lot of fun articles and news and things and so on and so forth. And one of them was like, you won't believe what these 5 people on OnlyFans make their
OnlyGrams?
OnlyGrams.
Right? Isn't that perfect?
Different thing. The OnlyGrams is a completely different thing.
I still think we should do an OnlyFans for beer.
we could.
And you just take funny shots of beer.
Like the foam running down the glass.
Yeah.
See, we got it. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, and if you want to
ASMR crack.
Yeah. And if you want to get a little saucy, you go get like, the Barbie.
Saucy.
Yeah, you get the Barbie bikini and put the beer can in it. I think this is a brilliant idea, gentlemen.
Our new business plan, you've heard it. You've heard it right here. Don't be shocked.
Beer porn.
To see what you see. Hey man, it makes somebody happy.
Yeah, imagine you're just close up on somebody's mouth as they drink a beer, right? They drink the beer and then you hear the swallow and then they go.
Oh, Ferris is about He's about to make some cookie puss noises.
Oh, God, that's brilliant.
Say, Ferris, let me roll on into the Premier League so we can get to making bad about the Manchester Derby. But first things first, did we mention London is red, 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 red? The first match of the Premier League weekend kicked off with a derby match between Arsenal and Tottenham that was full of stunning goals, penalties, and red cards that were not Granit Xhaka's.
Shocking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like helping people up off the ground now and stuff. You're like, who are you?
And yep, it's a whole new ball game for Mr. Granit. Stunning strike from Thomas Partey. Another penalty goal from Kane. I mean, he just it's a derby, so he gets one, I guess, is what's going to happen always. Like, he always gets one. Hugo Lloris error for the second goal, which was poked home by Gabriel Jesus, and a continuous red card handed out by head ref.
Sorry, a contentious.
I was like, continuous?
Yeah, no,
I get you. I got you. A contentious red card. I had to go, did Anthony Taylor hand out a red card last week is what I thought you meant. A contentious red card handed out by head ref Anthony Taylor for Emerson Royale's challenge on Gabriel Martinelli about summed up the day as Arsenal beat their London foes by a scoreline of 3-1. But you left out the fact that Granit Xhaka didn't get a red, but scored.
He did.
That third goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
How you feeling there, Blake?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think that Conte got out managed in this one. He went with the option to sit everybody back and play the counter, which is like the very conservative way of playing. It's kind of like Jose ball in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And that's okay, I think, to go on with that tactic. But what was kind of shocking is he just never tried to I saw the Jurgen Klopp post conference where he said that the way that Brighton had set up gave them troubles. He goes, but that's our fault. We should have reacted to that. And I'd say the same thing with Conte. He didn't really try anything different until he made 4 substitutions at the same time. Was he officially the first team to do that now? First manager?
I don't think so.
For what?
At once that he subbed out 4 changes at once?
No.
I'm pretty sure other clubs have done it.
The Premier League? Yeah. Which kind of felt like he was just giving the game up at that point. It was damage control. And then on the other side, that Arsenal opted to just, be aggressive, play forward. There was an opportunity for a counter at one point, but they just kind of relied on the defense. I think the thing with Conte is that conservative ball isn't going to work on a Manchester City or like an Arsenal who are scoring well if you don't have defender. Like that worked for him when he coached at Chelsea, right?
Yeah, but what I will say is it was kind of working. It really was. If Lloris, it was between his defender and Lloris, who was kind of on the injury risk of not even playing in this game, but he looked fine, and that didn't have anything to do with this. But without that mistake occurring, very kind of uncharacteristic of Lloris, and and I'm not going to put it all on him, but without that mistake, it's a 1-1 game, and Arsenal are still trying to push, right? And then the game's kind of back and forth. You get the red card, and then that kind of completely changes the game at that point,
right?
And these derby games, especially between these two, are full of reds, are full of some heavy challenges, are full of goals, of penalties and passion, and you really did see a lot of that in this match. And I think. Like for me, a text that I sent to you guys about it, I think kind of, in my opinion, it really, summed it up. It would, you can argue the red, you can talk about how the game, without some mistakes, and it was closer, but Arsenal were better on the day. When you see the result of the game, you can't argue that Arsenal weren't better on the day, and you can't say that they didn't deserve that win.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think that Conte's tactics were suited better for his team, right? To kind of try and maintain some shape, absorb a bit, and hit him on the counter, because Tottenham's pace is quite good on the counter. Yeah. And you saw, and it was on display in this match, right? Several times they would be able to break, and it's just kind of classic Conte counter-attacking football, but they just weren't able to, finish their chances. And then, like you said, you have that mistake, you get the red card, the entire, kind of, flavor of that match is now completely different. So Arsenal were certainly flying high and good and took advantage of everything they should have. So, good on them. But I don't think this is necessarily as doom and gloom as everybody's saying with Conte not having the right tactics.
I don't know. I disagree. I don't think he has a good enough defensive team to play that way. I don't think he's got the back line to do that. Whereas
I don't disagree with you. Just to say what, Blake?
I said, but he did have that when he was at Chelsea and used that.
He did. I don't think I don't like the Eric Dyer experiment. Well, it's no longer an experiment of moving him back from a number 6 role to that center back spot. I don't think he's a center back. I know he's playing that for England at times now. I know he's been playing that a lot, but for me, I don't like him at center back. I would rather have him sitting right in front of the center backs, protecting them. Okay. Now, with that being said, their center back situation is spotty at best, right? Ever since Vertonghen and Alderweireld left a few years ago, they've been kind of struggling to find the people there. What's his name? Romero, yes. Romero and Leggett, who just kind of came in, may have something there. Romero's just a little bit more of a hothead, and his challenges are going to be a little bit more robust and a little bit more. He's going to take some chances on them more so. And then you don't really have a right and left back that is a solid right and left back that, say, in Arsenal do have. Their back line's not terrible. It's full of talent. But to Blake's point, to play that style, do you have the right personnel in the right positions to play that kind of pack it in style? The counterattack's 100% there. They have that all day long.
But that's a good point, because Arsenal, at least this season, right? They're scoring. You've got folks on Tottenham that can score. Go for it.
Yeah, but I think
walk away with like a 3-3 kind of a draw with tons of goals. But I mean, I don't know. The half went by and things were getting worse, and they weren't making changes until they subbed out 4 people at the same time.
Yeah, but I think if you don't play that tactic, you are not protecting your shaky back line. And if you're
Arsenal wins either way, Ron. I mean, we agree to that. I got what you're saying.
But I think the better tactic was the one that Conte went with, because if you try to let them be a little more expansive, play to the wings much more, and try and spread Arsenal out, you're also doing the same to yourself. And they
don't have the talent to necessarily go head for head like that.
Correct. So while I understand your point, I think you're wrong.
Well, like I said, it was really 2 moments in this game that kind of changed the game. That error on that play, very, very rare, right? Especially a keeper of his standard. And then the red. And it was contentious in the fact that you had commentators, you had a lot of people saying that's not a red. It's a heavy challenge. It's a yellow, but it's not what Chalobah's was in the Fulham game, where there was a lot of intent there. There was a head-on challenge almost, in a way. This was kind of from the side, trying to come around to get the ball. Did he get him with studs? Yes, but Martinelli's going to make a meal of it as he does.
Everybody makes a meal of that, but not just Martinelli.
Brazilians are more known to making meals of it, though. In fairness, but when you slow it down, the way that it's slowed down, it looks nastier than what it was. And that's where I think even, Lee Dixon, who former Arsenal player, who, they've been in derbies with a hell of a lot worse challenges that weren't called reds, saying that that's very, very soft and a yellow in my book. And that's where it kind of went back and forth a bit.
Well, you've got, let's see what VAR comes in. They uphold the on the field call. A lot of the comparisons were to, let's see, it was a couple of calls with Van Dijk and Fabian Schär in Newcastle. That those ended up being yellow. But some people called that a missed red by VAR. I don't know. It's tough because it's studs and it's just high enough that I saw the Robbie Mustoe thing where he was like, I would have said a yellow, but this might be where we are right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a good summation of it. It's we all kind of don't know what is a red and a yellow anymore, because half the time we don't think VAR knows what a red and a yellow is.
VAR's got quite a few problems of its own. It doesn't understand the clear and obvious part of its mission statement.
Well, okay, but that's a good. Okay, so that's a good point. then this is, I've talked enough about VAR and its problems, so I know this goes in Arsenal's favor, so please don't. That's not what I'm saying here. But in this instant, you say clear and obvious error. If that's the term you want to use to overturn a call, well, it is studs up and it's a little high. I'm VAR. I'm not going to overturn that, I guess. If he called that on the field, as opposed to the mistake, I think would have been if he said a yellow and VAR said, no, that's a red. Does that make sense? They let the call on the field stand. They let or on the pitch stand. They let that ref make the call. The quote here on what am I on? But saying that it depended on the referee taking charge on the day, but Taylor's decision to show a red card to Royals deemed as an acceptable disciplinary outcome. I think that might be it, that it's not enough to overturn it.
Yeah, I don't.
Because the VAR had turned those other yellows we mentioned into reds, that would have been bad. But they let the arm.
Because here's the thing: would VAR have overturned it if he would have shown a yellow? Would they have overturned it for a red?
No, I don't think so. I think the thing is clear and obvious error.
Right.
And this is a spot where I don't know that they would have called a clear and obvious error for a yellow or a red. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it was a yellow call, that probably would have stood. Yeah. Because it was a red call, that's what did stud. And that's okay, right? If that's okay if that's the case because of that clear and obvious thing. But they don't apply that regularly.
Right.
Yes. If it were consistently like that, I think we'd go, well, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes sense.
You could argue semantics, but at the end of the day, if there were no VAR, it would have just stood because that's what the ref called. And in some ways, that's what we've been arguing to get back to, is to just let the ref on the field run it. The problem is, like you said, it's inconsistent. I mean, next week, guarantee you, after the good example of these couple of ones we're talking about in terms of them not overruling the pit, what happened on the pitch, next week we'll probably have one that absolutely gets overruled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's where the VAR argument continues apace. But hey, it's I said that to you guys. I called that last pod. There's going to be a red card. It's in North London.
Yeah, of course.
There
were quite a few contentious decisions for or not red cards in like the Chelsea match and the Fulham match, and I'm sure we'll get to chatting about those, but Derby week is always filled with reds.
Yeah. I don't think it was a bad week for VAR like we've had in the past.
No.
I don't think that necessarily should be the talking point, because yes, it changed the game, but it again, our Arsenal were better on the day. Yeah. And I think Tottenham tried to do something and try to set their side up for that packet in and then counter with a lot of pace. And it was working until it didn't.
Yeah. Hey, man, you got Saliba back there holding things down. I hope they stick to the same tactic come May. That's all I got to say.
Well, one thing you can be sure is Conte will be ready for the next time.
Bring it, you wine swilling mug. Our Spanish 007 villain will take you on.
Real quick, something we were talking about made me look this up. Do you guys know when the first red and yellow cards were introduced into mainstream soccer or football?
1892.
1883.
You guys are off by miles. 1970.
Oh.
The first time red and yellow cards were used was in the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. The cards were an instant hit because suddenly the audience and spectators could see what decisions the referees were making.
Oh, so you still may get fouled or called off, but you just wouldn't see. The equivalent of yellow and red was happening. You just didn't see it.
Right.
Oh, I have learned something. Ron brings us beer news, and the Sausage King brings us soccer news.
Jesus.
Well,
let's move on.
Of versed and soccer information. Boom. Speaking of versed, let's move over to Manchester Derby. Manchester is blue, as it was pretty much the same story last season as Manchester City demolished Manchester United at the Etihad by a final score of 6-3. Erling Haaland, otherwise known as the T-800 Terminator, has once again scored a hat trick at home, making it 3 hat tricks back to back at the Etihad. But oddly enough, the star of the match could arguably be Phil Foden, who was like, "Can I please have this game ball? You have the rest."
Right.
He bagged himself a hat trick, 2 in a match. I don't know how frequently that happens. I'm sure. And he got on the score sheet, and Anthony Martial bagged himself a brace. But those felt like consolation goals. To be honest, until you just said that, I just watched highlights again, and I forgot that he got a brace. As Pep City, they continue their dominance. They shine on bright on the day to turn Manchester blue, just like Ferris's soul when he overslept and woke up.
I tell you what, it was the best oversleeping I've ever done. Well, here's the thing: is I wake up in a fog, right? I wake up in a fog and I just look at my phone because I'm like, oh crap, it's 11 o'clock and the game was at 9, right? It's like 11 something. I wake up, I'm like, oh crap. So I'm like, let me check my phone. And I'm seeing some text from people and whatnot, and all I see is 3 for Manchester United. I'm like, did we just win 3-0 at the Etihad? I was like, oh my God, I slept into that. Completely missed the 6 there. Completely did not. I thought it was a 0 and not a 6.
Wishful
it was like,
thinking.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you can't beat Haaland. You could have drawn against Phil Foden, but Erling steps in, and he's so good. I don't even know what to say.
I think no matter what team in the league played City, they would have been down 4-0 at half.
Sure, for sure.
Any team in the league or around the world. There's not a team when they're firing like that on all cylinders with ball control, ball possession, passing, the lethalness in which they put the ball in the back of the net. There's not a team in the world that would have been able to stop that.
Yeah, agreed. Was that? Sorry,
assist, right? Haaland at least also had 1 assist, right? Or did he have more?
Haaland did have an assist. Yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne had a few. I think he did have
2.
Foden had a few. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Was that the most perfect half of football we have seen since we've been playing or watching all of this, following?
I can't tell you. I was asleep.
I mean, positioning.
From what I saw on the extended highlights of it, I wouldn't say it's hard to call it the most perfect half of football that we've seen, but it was damn good. It was unstoppable.
Yeah, I think that was. That's why I'm asking, because I think it was the most perfect half of football I've ever seen from any team.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I would say it depends. Does it depend on who they're playing? I mean, Man United's had a better run lately. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know that Man United did anything. I think what backs up your argument is I don't know that Man United did anything poorly in this match necessarily.
There was plenty. There was what we learned and what I've been saying is Dalot still can't play defense to save his freaking life. Absolutely worthless.
But also, I think,
6 goals poorly. I don't. Yeah.
From a United aspect, real quick, watching the extended highlights that I did not get a Brentford type vibe in this. It was more like we're just getting kicked. Like it didn't look as sloppy, as gutless, as heartless, that we've seen in the past. It just looked like they just got their butts whooped.
Do you think Pep can get that team that played to play that way for the Champions League and actually win the Champions League.
Well, that's what we said, on the preview pod. I think I picked them to win the Champions League because that Haaland effect is massive. You now, the amount of balls that can be played in the box to him. You've seen goals where he's jumped 100 feet in the air. It seems like, and like side-footed it in with his other foot behind his head. Like, you're just like, what are you doing? He can hit it with his head. He can hit it with both feet. He can make a run in. He can finish one-on-one with the keeper. He can do so much, as he's fast as hell. He's strong as hell. Like, you can go on and on. Will he have his off days? Sure. Strikers will have their off days. Players will have their off days. But when you're getting that service into the box on the runs that he does and has been doing for your Dortmunds and so on and so forth, it's hard to stop. It's extremely, extremely hard to stop that ball from not going in the net if you're trying to defend them. Especially
with the pinpoint perfect service that he gets.
When you have De Bruyne hitting you the ball, that's one of the best in the world hitting you the ball.
Right around the defender who just, it's just out of their outstretched reach, and Erling Haaland can put the bottom of his foot on it.
Yeah.
Like that flying kind of Zlatan-esque sidekick goal was just unbelievable. So I have 3 questions. 1, if Haaland gets injured, is City the same team?
No.
No. Because Man United would have drawn 3-3. I'm telling you.
I don't know if that's the case. No, they're not. They are a damn good team, but they're not the same team. You can apply certain things, strategies and whatnot, but to have somebody as just lethal as that adds fear and the heart of a center back or a defense. There's nobody else on that team that does that necessarily. You can curtail De Bruyne to a certain case, but Grealish really isn't scaring anybody.
Right.
Foden isn't really scaring anybody. Haaland is. You have to take notice. You have to.
Haaland is, and it's going to make it so that things like Phil Foden happen. Because
of course.
Yeah. Because you know what? It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead.
Is that a Lord of the Rings? No, T2 3D battle across time?
No, that's Kyle Reese in Terminator 1 telling Sarah Connor what the Terminator is. I'm so going to load that into the soundboard because that's going to be the new Haaland.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so next question. In terms of Ten Hag's tactics, I have 2 questions. 1, why not start Ronaldo?
Why? You've beaten Liverpool, Arsenal, and have won your past 4 without him in the starting lineup. This was the same starting lineup that started in all of those. Why break something, or why fix something that's not broke? You started to have chemistry here. Now, Man City, as good as they are going to break that chemistry down. But why introduce somebody new into that without an injury when everybody has been starting to play better and starting really to get form? You can wonder why he wasn't brought in at half or anything. And I think Ten Hag explained that after the fact. Like, I to show respect towards Ronaldo, I'm not bringing him in a 4-0 route to just run around.
Yeah.
Like, I have more respect for him than that.
That makes sense.
Right.
I'm just wondering.
I don't think you do, and I don't think it was warranted in this match. Now, do you do that in which Ronaldo started in our last Europa League match? And he'll probably start on Thursday in our next match there. And who knows, he may even start against Everton next weekend to change things up. But
I think it gives you the opportunity to start him now, because I think if you had started him and you still ended up with the same scoreline,
5-0.
people would say, hey, why did you fix what wasn't broken? You beat, you didn't start him and you beat Arsenal, you beat Liverpool. Hey, I think it's a tough spot for them to be in, because I don't think it would have made a difference. I think they still would have lost. We would have gotten some better Ronaldo memes out of it, probably.
True. Okay. So, anyways, your third.
My third question is: Manchester United started Eriksen.
Yep.
But it seems to me that you went out and got Casemiro for just these types of games.
Sure.
Where you need protection of the back line, and Eriksen isn't that player.
No, Eriksen, it's not what he was. It's not what they're doing. I understand. That's the Scott McTominay role. Yeah.
Which is precisely my point. So if you know that you're coming into a mega onslaught of attack, and you have Casemiro to help you with McTominay, who's a bit pacier than Casemiro is, but Casemiro has way more experience in big games of helping to protect that back line. Eriksen was largely okay in this match. He wasn't great. He didn't really do anything that was overly crazy, but I think you should have started Casemiro in place of Eriksen, and the duo of McTominay and Casemiro would have helped protect that back line of Martinez and Varane and Delot and those guys. I think that might have been the more sound choice. So the question is, why do you think they started Eriksen over Casemiro when this is Casemiro's bread and butter?
I think you're asking the wrong person. Why do you start Scott McTominay over him? I think Eriksen has to play. Eriksen's been one of our best players so far this year. The level of passing, his sight on the pitch, the level of connecting the ball to his teammate's foot is immensely huge. We shared the stats a few weeks back about what he did to a Arsenal team that was surging based on his passes completed and his assist and his balls. So I think the question isn't do you start Casemiro over Eriksen, it's do you start Casemiro over McTominay, and that can certainly be argued. But again, I don't think in this match you start getting. I don't want to say you start to kind of move things around when you're sticking with those that have won 4 games in a row in the league, have had a little bit of a surge, and you're giving them time to gel. And I don't know if Casemiro is fully up to pace yet. He's played in the Europa League and he's played in some other stuff. And at times he has looked a little bit behind the step. But to your point of this being that big game, if anything, I probably would have started a Fred and Casemiro midfield with Bruno and left Eriksen on the bench. But I don't think you leave Eriksen on the bench. So my only thing is who else in that midfield, unless you go. But you're not going to take away your speed on the sides. So you're not going to take away your Rashford, your Sanchez that could push City back a little bit, or Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony. You're not going to take any of that out there. So if you're just dealing with the midfield, for me, I could have seen maybe a Casemiro, Fred, Bruno midfield. But I don't think you sit Eriksen just for what he brings to the game and the team.
But what did he bring?
Well,
in this match, he didn't bring much.
Yes, but there wasn't really a United person that did besides the subs and Anthony.
Harry Maguire. This was a chance at redemption. He didn't have the guts to go for it.
Because what we need
is more of the question.
We need another.
I'd rather have Casemiro playing center back at this point than Harry Maguire.
What you do is you say, Harry,
all right,
you're not going to be captain anymore, but I want you to go break I want you to go break Haaland's leg. We're going to make you like a what is it? What's the term in hockey? The
enforcer.
The enforcer. Yeah. It's good because that's his redemption story. But you know what? Wouldn't have worked because the legs, they're metal. He would have broken his own legs. I hope you liked the little picture I sent you guys.
Oh, what did you?
I
sorry,
didn't
I'm
That's good. You're not texting while you're potting. You're
I see that.
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny. Yeah, didn't Bleacher Report do one of those? I know it was last year, maybe it was sometime this year.
Yeah, it's Holland with his face peeling away with the T800 skull behind it.
That's pretty great.
It's just like, people made those, we're making those cracks the last couple of matches. But I will say after this match, though, there was a general, there's a difference in the punditry where it's just, it's an inevitability. People keep saying, hey, Arsenal, do you think they'll have a chance to fight for the league? I think if no Holland and same score lines had happened and Man City was still where they were, people would go, maybe. But with Holland there, everyone's like, oh, no, I think they'll have a good season. But no. At some point, they're just going to start pacing ahead with this. It's ridiculous.
That's kind of why I asked the question of, is Man City the same team without Holland? Because I feel like this is a lot of eggs in a basket. So many of the punditry are like, well, the season's over. Man City's going to run away with it. Arsenal will keep pace for a little bit, but, probably right after January, Man City will do as Man City does and just run away with it after January. But if something bad happens to Holland, and I am in no way hoping or wishing that, I would.
But he does have an injury history.
I would love to see this guy break the scoring records that they say he's on pace to break.
I agree.
Right. But from a team perspective, or from a fan perspective, so many people are just kind of saying, well, the season's over. And it's match week 8. If he goes away to the World Cup and gets injured and is out for 2 months,
well, he's not going to the World Cup though, because Norway's not in it.
Well, yeah, that's going to be tougher. But even still, he goes to Champions League or wherever, gets an injury, and then it plagues him for the rest of the season. I think it's too early to just be all, Man City's going to wrap this up.
I don't want him to hurt himself with a serious injury. I just ask that he eats some bad lasagna before he plays Arsenal. And then he's still fine 3 days later. Just
So you're just wishing food poisoning on the guy?
The trots.
No, because when he pulls a Jordan and does the flu game on you guys, it'll be.
That's right. It's true. Well, and people that actually is a comparison that keeps popping up. It's there's this Michael Jordan of professional soccer right now. I don't know. It's one of those things where he's playing at a club that's a rival to all our clubs. You're like, oh my God. But at the same time, you're like, but I am kind of curious to see how far he can go, because you do feel like you're watching a once in a generation sort of talent happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can tell the post-match interview with Foden and him, where it was just kind of a delight to listen to. You can tell that these guys are having a lot of fun and they genuinely like each other. They care about each other. They go the extra mile and play harder for each other. And that's what wins seasons.
What you can really tell in that press conference, post-match interview, is they have seriously upgraded his personality AI. It's way better than from the beginning of the season. That new patch is working just right.
Sure. Awesome.
Now I just gotta go find Terminator stuff for the next pod. All right, well, let's get over to Ron's club. Graham Potter gets his first Premier League win with Chelsea. That's still so weird, especially watching the Brighton match with Liverpool. But another London matchup, Graham Potter gets his first Premier League win in charge of Chelsea Football Club. It did not come easy at all, actually. A 7-minute strike from Palace's Edouard. Great cross.
That ball in was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Beautiful. They made the Blues fans a little uneasy, but their new number 9, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, bagged himself his first for his new London club, and a very stereotypical Aubameyang goal too.
Yeah.
That was scored. And they enter the half all tied up. The Potters sub of Conor Gallagher in the 79th minute pay off as the 90th minute as the former Loney to Palace's strike would make his former Selhurst Park faithful signing. Whoa, wait a minute. What'd you write there?
I don't know. The blues.
Okay, wait. Sing the blues. I saw singing and I read signing and was very confused because signing.
Right? I spelled singing right?
Yes. No. You did.
Okay.
You did. We were talking about a signing and my brain read it wrong. But let me try that again. Conor Gallagher in the 79th minute would pay off in the 90th as the former Loney to Palace's strike would make his former Selhurst Park faithful singing the blues 2-1.
That was
good substitution.
Yeah. Pulisic assist.
Yeah.
So it was good to see Pulisic in action and taking on people. I feel like Pulisic is kind of a new player now, too. Under a new manager, he's much more himself, coming in from the wings, taking on players, really pushing the envelope. And he makes a nice pass over to Conor Gallagher, who just slots it right into the back of the corner of the net.
Day one, he's like, hey, Mr. Potter, it's nice to meet you. Did you know I was American? Did you know the new owner's American? Did you see what we did to the last guy? Freaking play me. He bullied Mr. Potter right
it was a sub, but yeah.
we still have some defensive things we need to work out. At one point, Thiago Silva hits the deck. He's he has the ball. His touch is a little heavy, so it puts it a little far out. It's kind of a 50-50 ball. The person from Palace pushing down on him forces him to hit the ground, and then the whistle has not blown, but Thiago Silva reaches out and pushes the ball away with his hand so that the Palace offensive player cannot maintain control of it. Gets a yellow for it, but it was questionable whether or not it should have been a red.
Because the last
he was the last man.
There's still a lot of there. See, that's one of those confusing ones too. Like, there's a lot of real estate. Is that really an obvious goal scoring chance? But he was the last man. I'm confused.
So they give him a yellow. The Palace faithful were upset about it. I mean, I guess I'll take it. It's confusing.
But you know what I mean? Like
anyway.
it feels like a harsh red, but if you're on the other side, you're like, it's the last guy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's obvious handball.
Yeah.
And then one cool bit of class in that match was that when Conor Gallagher was brought on, the Palace faithful gave him a standing ovation because he played his butt off for them as a loanee from Chelsea last season. And then he breaks their hearts in the 90th minute by scoring the game-winning goal. But to his credit, he didn't celebrate. He just kind of took the praise from his team.
Yeah, and that was good to see.
And that was that.
Talked about how cool it was to be cheered on by the folks there.
Yeah.
He's very cool post-match. Like I said, he just came across as a really, really nice dude.
Yeah. Who's had a little bit of a rough time there. Not rough time, but for Chelsea so far has been sent off in a game. Hasn't quite hit stride. So this was a lovely strike and kind of good for him. And you could see this possibly building confidence in him and confidence in Potter, who may continue to use him as kind of a power sub, but could start to kind of insert him into the starting lineup.
We've got a lot of defensive issues to fix. We clearly are missing N'Golo Kante in the midfield, and we are still not very clinical or very lethal in that final third. We seem to not, other than Aubameyang in this match, we didn't just direct shoot the ball very much. It was very, very Timo Werner-esque of us to constantly be shifting the ball and trying to find that perfect, I'm going to kick it and definitely score mentality that I seem to think plagues all the teams I root for. But I think we're going to end up getting better. We're going to have to take a page out of the Arsenal book and just trust the process.
Hey, man. It's working over here.
Ferris said like that.
Make those faces fair. Top the table, baby.
You just follow Potter. I don't know.
Isn't that just a different way of saying trust the process?
Sure, but the 76ers have it and Arsenal claimed it. So you got to have something different.
Work the plan. How's that?
Potter up.
Play to the plan with Potter. I don't know.
Our next podcast, how to make a slogan.
Yeah, right.
Is going to be riveting.
The new fans will all be called the Potheads. That's what's happening.
Love it.
Oh, that's pretty funny. But I'll take the win. It wasn't our prettiest win, and it probably won't be our prettiest win of the season. But I guess there's the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train.
How did you not lose this match, though? Because it is the one club. Now, I say it as this. It's the one club you could have played that Ferris could have written a headline that would have been flawless, which is Mr. Potter and the Curse of the Crystal Palace. Like,
that's a good one. Oh. That's a good one, Blake.
So I was watching going, oh man, they won. Damn it, that was a perfect headline. It's right there. It wouldn't work. I don't think any other club that works as well as the Crystal
That's a good one.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh, I suppose you still have one more to go.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Ferris, you want to roll us through the rest of the Premier League results?
Sure. Bournemouth and Brentford. They played.
That was a nice snoozy game.
0-0 draw.
But maybe there should have been a penalty in that, though. I don't know if you caught the.
I didn't. I'm sure there could have been. There might have been. I think it's a good result from both clubs, actually. But I didn't see it.
That was the sliding challenge that tripped the player. It went to VAR.
Yes.
They asked the ref to go back, look at it, and he stuck with his original opinion.
Yeah. But the player didn't seem to get the ball at all.
So he does get the ball. He gets it with his trailing left leg, which is tucked his heel is touching like his butt as he slides, right? The problem is that his right leg is up but bent at the knee. So as the offensive player is coming to get the ball, he trips that player first, then gets the ball. And so the argument is...
I'm not hearing clear and obvious here.
Right. Well,
yeah.
The idea is you still aren't allowed to take the player out before you get the ball. And that was a clear takeout of a player. So that the question is, was there intent? Was it endangering? So yellow, yes. Red, no. Again, one of those kind of really subjective, hard to tell calls. But most people, if you go back and watch it, most people, because the ball continues along the same line of travel that it was originally going on, most people think that he did not get the ball, but he does. When you watch it in real time, the ball speeds up after he slides in. So he clearly makes contact with it. But that's hard to see in the slow-mo when they show it back to you from 40 different angles.
Yeah.
Again, I think VAR should never be slowed down again.
Right. But the big argument is his leg was up. That's where it should have been the penalty. It's what you were saying, because you don't.
Sure, but that's a yellow anywhere, right?
No,
not a red.
But a penalty.
Well, he was outside the box.
It
was a red card challenge.
It is inside the box.
Was it?
It was a look at for a penalty.
I'm watching it now because I
thought it was outside.
Very curious. It's inside the box. I don't know why it's not playing, but yeah, it was in the 21st minute.
We're all watching this video on a podcast.
I know.
Yeah, but I don't.
See, he does make contact. The ball speeds up.
That's tough.
And
what was it called on the field?
Yellow.
And a pen?
No,
but no penalty.
Oh,
so they went to
I don't think it's a pen. Don't even. I'm fine with it not being a pen on what I'm seeing. But interesting, very interesting play, and that would have been for Bournemouth. Am I right? Yeah, that would have been a Brentford challenge on a Bournemouth attacker.
Same match though. There was a handball that Bournemouth thought they were snatched from as well. That should have gone their way. So it was kind of a twofold thing that occurred that match. It was a more interesting match than the scoreline led anyone to believe.
Still no. Yeah, not a lot. An early red though, an actual red for Nathaniel Chalobah left Fulham in a very, very rough spot, as it was all Newcastle after that, and they just absolutely started scoring goals. 4-1 to Newcastle.
2 former Chelsea players got reds this weekend, Chalobah and Emerson.
Yep, they did. This one was absolutely red. I don't think anybody's arguing that.
No.
And it's a good result for Newcastle, who now find themselves all the way up in 7th.
A wicked couple of goals from Almiron.
Yeah.
Former
he had
MLS
a good game
player.
in this one. Yeah, absolutely. Liverpool. Woof. What is happening with them? Having to come back from 2 goals down against Brighton and end up 3-3 on the day, but missed points once again for the Reds here. It's, people laughed at United when they got beat 2-1 on the opening day to Brighton, but I think a lot of people are finding out Brighton aren't no joke. Whether you got Potter or you don't, they have some players that can score, that can defend, and can play you very, very tough. And although this being at Anfield, it was, Liverpool were down 2, then were up 1, and then still gave it up to a 3-3 draw. So it's not looking like the same Liverpool that we're used to seeing in the past few
I did
seasons.
appreciate that Klopp in the press conference, though, was like, hey, before you just say we're having a tough time, you have to give credit. There's a reason Brighton is where they are. Yeah. He was very complimentary of Brighton and the way that they play as a club.
He didn't complain about the pitch being too short or...
No, he showed a very good moment of class because he also knows that the headline is not going to be Brighton are playing, playing exceptionally well. The headline is going to be that Liverpool give up 3 and meek out a draw.
Yeah, that headline does need to be written soon, though. I mean, because we need to. At what point do we quit going, "Wow, Brighton again, huh?" Before it's like they are good.
Yeah,
I mean, the question
very
coming off losing to lose Graham Potter and going to play. I don't care. Liverpool's having an off time. They're Liverpool. So
yeah, when you guys have them coming up this week,
they still scored 3 goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they absolutely did.
So, what Brighton's doing is amazing, and from that aspect, from that point, I do agree with the German. They should be given full credit because I don't think.
Agree.
Sometimes this happens, and it's a fun thing in the beginning. You see how long they can last. It feels like Brighton is going to be competitive in these European slots a lot longer than I think any of us would have thought.
Yeah.
Brighton all the way up in 4.
Yep, and Liverpool sitting in 9th right now as they take on number 1 in the table, Arsenal, this weekend. 2 quick goals from Everton in the second half earned them their second win on the season with a 2-1 win.
What a crazy match that was.
Yeah, kind of interesting. All the goals coming in like a 6-minute frame of period of play just after halftime. But a very big win for them, and that brings Everton all the way up to 11th in the table. West Ham also got a big win at home.
God, they needed that.
Yes, they did. As their new number 9, Skamaka, gets himself off the mark in a 2-0 win, and another goal was added there by Jared Bowen. Thank you, Jared Bowen. Thank you for Fabianski. You guys won me about $30 that day, so I appreciate. Without you two, I was in trouble. But West Ham, good win for them. They were right there, and I believe they were in the relegation zone prior to the start of this. They're now up to 15th, and Wolves they kind of swap here, and Wolves moves into 18th. Yellow cards galore. I think there's about 6 or 7 in this one as Leeds and Villa play out a 0-0 draw and kind of a feisty, kind of just moving the ball back and forth, but nothing real to shout here in this one.
Yeah.
And then today, Leicester just run absolutely right as James Maddison scores himself a brace and gets himself an assist in a 4-0 rout of Nottingham. Nottingham Forest they're like Norwich of last year, but they spent 150 million pounds. Like, it's just because they have no chemistry, no defense. It's rough there in Nottingham right now.
I mean, yes, but Leicester City to this point has also been the Norwich.
Yeah, they're 19th and 20th in the table, even after today's results.
And this is Leicester City's first win of the season.
But you're last. You get beat by the second worst team in the league, 4-0. That's not good. And like
my daughter was for it.
Say what?
My daughter was going nuts for it because she loves foxes. She's like,
true,
that's my foxes. She was going crazy.
But
I hope your teams. I hope they stay up.
we talked about this on the preview pod. Is bringing in this amount of players going to have that kind of Fulham effect from a few years back, where the team that got you there, you basically said goodbye to. You have a whole new team and that hasn't had time to gel, hasn't had time to train together. You're just bringing in parts and pieces because you can afford them, and because they're just maybe big known players or name players. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
What system are you playing? What setup are you playing? What formation are you playing? Are you bringing people in to fit that? Clearly not so far. So it's going to be a long run from them. But as we quickly go through the table before moving on, Arsenal, of course, stay top of the table.
Did you? I don't know if you caught the post presser with Brendan Rodgers, super defending James Maddison and how ridiculous he thinks it is that he's not on the English squad when they need creativity so bad. And he had a great game.
Yeah.
He had a great game today, and it was super sweet, for lack of a better term. Like, he really went to bat for Madison. And the same token, kind of being like, hey, Southgate, you need creativity out there. Look at what happened here at Scouting Club. Anyway, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Arsenal regain top position as they are 1 in the table, 21 points, 1 point over second in the table, Manchester City on 20 points. Tottenham still stay in third on 17 points, and Brighton still stay in fourth on 14 points. Just behind them, you have Chelsea in fifth on 13 points, and Manchester United in sixth on 12 points. That top six stays the exact same as it did going into the weekend. Then from 7th through 10th, you have Newcastle, Fulham, Liverpool, and Brentford, all by a point difference. Newcastle, Fulham, both on 11 points, Liverpool and Brentford on 10 points. Then you have Everton all the way up there to 11th, as we said just a little bit ago, on 10 points, and finally got that goal difference to 0. You have Leeds in 12th on 9 points, Bournemouth right there in 13th on 9 points, Villa on 9 points.
8, I think.
8 points, yep, sorry. And then in 15th, West Ham up there, moving out of the relegation zone, 3 points, a point off of the bottom on 7 points. Southampton in 16th, Crystal Palace in 17th, and then tied on points is Wolves, but with a -6 goal difference opposed to opposed to Crystal Palace's -3. That is why they are in 18th. And then the aforementioned Leicester in 19th and Nottingham Forest in 20th with -15 goal difference.
Unless that last Leicester match is the story we look back and go, hey, that's when things changed. It feels like that could be the bottom 3 for the run.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, you could certainly be right, but so many fortunes change over a long season.
Yeah, it's still so early to tell the top 4, top 6, and that bottom 3. I think right now we're all kind of resigned to the fact that Nottingham Forest is going to be in that bottom 3 for a while. But if Leicester play as good as they did today, who knows? We don't think Wolves are that bad. Did not quite have a good game against West Ham by any stretch, but still some talent on that team.
Including a former Chelsea Diego Costa.
Yeah, made his debut in this too.
Who
we forgot to mention that. Yeah,
pivotal in that match.
He actually did well.
So much of their attack went through.
Yeah, he
him.
actually did well. Palace have talent. Southampton's kind of just oddly there. They're going to be bouncing, and they may be the club that kind of has that last day survival game, because we kind of forget that they're there half the time. But they too have some talent. So it's still a long year where a lot of people are 8 games in. Then we have a lot of teams that are also 7 games in due to some postponements. So still very, very early. Remember, there's 38 games played in the Premier League, so at least 30 games more for all of the clubs between now and late May, June.
A lot of soccer to happen.
Oh, yes.
And then plus, as we've said it all the way, it's easy to make predictions, but this year, with the way the World Cup falls, I mean, that could be a big
afterwards. Yeah,
a lot.
Sure. Ron, do we want to have that other beer?
Yeah, I think I'll just snag the beer news slot to introduce this next beer, the Weiss Beer Dunkel, also by Klosser Andex, just like we were talking about. And this is supposed to have a very creamy, fine poured head, similar to the Hells that we just had. But this one should have a little more kind of pineapple notes, a little bit of caramel, cocoa notes in the background, a light caramel sweetness with a bit of hop bitterness. So this one will be a super fun one to put down. I've also had this one. So, Ferris, you will have a pleasure drinking this one.
All right.
Blake,
Woo.
Sorry you can't partake in that.
Just
The next time I'm up at the Klosser Index, I'll get you some.
yeah, if you don't mind swinging back,
Yeah,
swinging
no
back
problem.
there.
Besides, a short trip over.
You're going to be able to have all the ones you want when we go do a pod live from the Oktoberfest
Yeah, true.
Yes.
next season.
Plus, we need you to go swing and get us some more 007 beers.
Oh, that without a doubt.
Absolutely.
And then the last interesting thing I figured I would talk about is some interesting things around the Oktoberfest season. And everyone thinks, when you think Oktoberfest, you think of a beer in a stein, right?
Sure.
Interesting thing, stein in German means stone. So when people bring you one of the glass liters of beer and call it a stein, it's actually not correct, because it's not a stein. A stein is made of stoneware. So before they
mean stone?
Sorry, say again?
I mean stone?
Yes.
Ah, there we go.
So the massive stone mugs that you find, those are actually steins. The glass ones are called Mass, spelled M-A-S-S, but in German it would be M-A with that kind of B shape in it, which means 2 S's. And Mass means measure. And a measure of beer is 1 liter. So when you see those steins, you see like
Typically 1 liter, yeah.
the textured glass to a point, and then it's got about 1.5 inches of clear glass all the way around. Well, the measure goes right to that line, and the clear glass is where the head always is.
No kidding.
So that line down is 1 measure or 1 liter of beer. So when you get a glass liter of beer, it is not a stein.
I'll be darned.
There's a little bit of beer knowledge for you before we move on.
Sausage King throwing out a little stein knowledge and stone knowledge.
The Sultan of Sausage lays down some Steinware knowledge.
Oh, God, this is good.
The Prince of the Pork Schnitzel.
Oh,
Blake, I wish you could partake.
That sounds and looks so good.
Oh, so
Nice white head.
Yeah. A nice, fine, bubbled head. Good lacing on it as you drink it. It's a quality
good
beer.
Dunkel coloring.
Okay. That's all I'll do for today.
All right, Mr. Ferris, just want to get us over to the domestics leagues and
domestics. Yeah, we'll cover Champions League returning this week. Then obviously a lot of the leagues around Europe return this week, but we'll cover that on the next pod. What we want to kind of cover is the domestic leagues because playoffs are shaped up for the NWSL, which we'll cover first, and then the MLS has just basically one more match day left. But starting off over in the NWSL.
The race is on.
The race is not on. The race is over.
No. The playoff race.
The now competing for the right to win that league takes place as OL Reign snatched that top spot from the Thorns and San Diego Wave, who held that top spot for a majority of the year on 40 points. They demolished the Pride the other night.
Oh, it was
a 3-0 win.
Yeah.
But
the
put us out of our misery.
The scoreline was less than what you would have expected.
Yeah.
On how they treated Orlando.
Exactly. But it is the Thorns that came in second on 39 points. Now, both of those clubs get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. Now, it's a top 6 in the NWSL that make the playoffs. So 3 versus 6. The San Diego Wave did make it. They made it in third on 36 points. Better goal difference than the Houston Dash in fourth. Now, the Dash will play Kansas City Current, who are in fifth. And the sixth team who made it in with a win over, I think it was Angel City. With a win over Angel City, Chicago Red Stars will take on the San Diego Wave. Those games, Houston Dash versus Current, will be played on October 16th at 5 p.m. on Paramount Plus over in Tejas. And then later that night at 10 p.m., San Diego Wave take on Chicago Red Stars on CBS Sports Network in San Diego, California at the Snapdragon Stadium. That will be your first round of the playoffs. So teams like Angel City, North Carolina Courage, Washington Spirit, who won the whole thing last year, did not make it in, along with Racing Louisville, our Orlando Pride, and Gotham FC.
Washington Spirit finish out the season in 11th.
Yes, it's second to last place. And they won their last 2, and they have a lot of talent. And I think just the club, as we talked about, has been in a bit of turmoil. There's an investigation that just kind of came out today that a U.S. soccer investigation basically found systematic abuse and misconduct in the NWSL. So you remember a lot of stuff that happened with the Portland Thorns, a lot of stuff that happened with the Spirit, and you have a lot of controversy specifically around the Spirit Club as to why, that kind of, I would have assumed, played an effect on that club. They also missed a lot of talent throughout the year because of international games. Trinity Rodman, Ashley Sanchez, Ashley Hatch, Kelly O'Hara. They just missed a lot for a while. We'll kind of keep an eye on as this news kind of broke just before the pod about that investigation. But we still have half of our coaching staff here on the Pride suspended.
Yep.
So who knows if that has anything to do with this or what that might have to do with, but they've been very tight-lipped on that. But nonetheless, it was a interesting NWSL season, but one that I suspect will be quite good and tasty to watch for the playoffs, as we have some very good teams going up against each other.
Yeah, I'm excited for the playoffs. It's the ladies' game is always exciting right down to the finish. And I hope, I don't know, this, in some ways, I hope that all of this stuff can get dragged out into the light kind of after the season. Because in some ways, I feel like it takes away from what the ladies are doing on the field. But it's an important topic that really needs to come out. According to Jeff Carlisle from ESPN, he apparently was able to read the report, and part of the report said our investigation has revealed a league in which abuse and misconduct, verbal and emotional abuse and sexual misconduct has become systematic, spanning multiple teams, coaches, and victims. Abuse in the NWSL is rooted in a deeper culture in women's soccer, beginning in the youth leagues, and that normalizes verbal abusive coaching and blurs boundaries between coaches and players. So this really needs to come out, and systematic change needs to happen.
I want it to come out now. I want it to come out, and obviously it is to a degree, but I want it to be talked about during the playoffs as well, because I fear that it could get lost in back page news come a very busy sports season that we're about to hit here in November and December here in the States. The playoff games being on CBS Sports Network, and then the final will be on Big CBS on October 29th at Audi Field. It's hopefully going to draw eyeballs, going to draw people towards these broadcasts, towards these games. CBS Sports Network is a pretty regular cable channel now,
sure,
or a part of most, whether you have a streaming service or anything along those lines. So I hope it gets talked about. I'm sure it will, especially on that October 16th date. I'm sure there will be some stories about it, but it's as this league continues to grow as the longest running professional women's soccer league in the U.S., stories like this need to come to light. Players that are playing in this league, the playoff race that we had here, the level of talent we had, them being accessible to be seen on TV as regularly as all these games are, so on and so forth, all need to continue to happen to build this league. And it is a great league, a hell of a league to watch, and I'm sure these playoffs will not disappoint in the slightest.
I'm with you, though. Better sooner and get all the ugly stuff out and start cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
I can agree.
If you get the chance, read this ESPN report, because it's by Jeff Carlisle. It's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Athletic will come out with something too. They always have some very good reporting these matters, and hell, they broke half of the stories that this kind of spurred on this. So, and Jeff Carlisle's a fantastic reporter and writer for ESPN and some other services. Shifting gears kind of over to the MLS soccer.com and the MLS. As I alluded to, we're going into kind of our final weekend here, but quite a big two matches this week on Wednesday, October 5th, between some Eastern Conference teams, which I'll get to in a second. But a little bit clear playoff picture here that we got. All right, so we'll start over in the East. You got 4 teams that have secured a playoff spot. So they have punched their ticket, clinched their spot into the playoffs. That is, of course, the Philadelphia Union, who will remain first, more than likely, in the Eastern Conference, as they've just been absolutely on fire. A 1.94 points per game and goals per game. They've been absolutely firing. They are on 64 points, as I said. Montreal right behind them in 62 points, clinched in second place. NYC, with their win over Orlando City on Sunday, clinched that third spot, or clinched a playoff spot, and pretty much probably that third spot on 52 points. New York Red Bulls on 50 points, clinched in that fourth spot. Now, here's where it gets interesting. FC Cincinnati, wonderful year they've been having. Remember, they were dead last year in the East. in 5th, currently on 46 points. Orlando in 45th. Inter Miami Orlando in 6th on 45 points. Inter Miami in 7th on 45 points. They play on Wednesday at 8 p.m. down in Miami.
And only 3 goals separate their goal difference.
So that could change. Also, on the line, but not currently in the playoffs as we speak, Columbus also plays on Wednesday against a pretty darn good Charlotte team who is not eliminated either. So your 6 through 9 clubs all play each other and all have the possibility of still mathematically getting into the playoffs. They all play each other on Wednesday, and then obviously decision day, they all play again. But how big is that Wednesday?
How can Charlotte get in? They're on 41 points. If they win, they get
other
results. 44.
If they win 2 games in a row.
Oh, there's 2 games left?
2 games.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
they'll have to because they haven't won. So they are mathematically in it. So Columbus plays Charlotte, Orlando plays Miami. 6 plays 7, 8 plays 9, and they're all still able to get into the playoffs. And Cincinnati's not secured yet either. They're only on 46 points, so they can lose on Sunday. And some results go the other way in the next 5 days here, and they could be out of it. And they've had a really good season so far. The teams that are eliminated in the Eastern Conference: New England Revolution in 10th, mathematically gone.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, sure, why not? One that we're all definitely okay with: Atlanta United, gone.
See ya
later. Chicago.
Yeah. Gone. I'm indifferent.
Yeah, they had a better season than I kind of thought, but not.
They punched well above their weight this weekend and beat Cincinnati in quite a barnstormer of a game 3-2.
Yeah. And that helped us actually as we once again gave up a lead on the road and lost 2-1. Toronto, 13th, eliminated.
What a shame.
Yeah. A lot of talent there, a lot of Italian talent there, but just did not enough to bring them out of that, and just defense still is not good enough whatsoever. And then DC United, kind of forgot that they played half the
Wayne Rooney's
DC United.
DC United finishes in the basement with a negative 32 goal differential.
Yeah, and that was probably about half him and not all
worst
of them, but
in the East.
Yeah, that rough, but it's going to be an uphill battle for him and his club and how they build that club going forward. But like Cincinnati's showing, you can be dead last 1 year fighting for a playoff spot currently in 5th. So a lot there. But yeah, these Wednesday games, again, you have Charlotte playing Columbus. That is 9 versus 8th, both still mathematically able to make the playoffs, playing at 7 p.m. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte on October 5th. And then you have Orlando traveling down south to Miami at 8 p.m. As they play. And that is, again, 6th versus 7th in the table, both in playoff contention. So some big midweek games in the Eastern Conference. No midweek games in the Eastern Conference this week for the West, however. But you have about 4 or 5 teams that have clinched and 4 or 5 teams that have been eliminated. So LAFC, 67 points and clinched the Supporter Shield for this season. That has been confirmed. Their win on the weekend clinched that. And they've been fantastic. Ike's a Bale on the team, who hasn't really played terribly much, as they're kind of resting him in a way, to kind of just make sure that he's fit for the playoffs. But just the talent that they have, when you talk about a Carlos Vela, who is still on that team, kind of almost a forgotten man in a way. Kellen Acosta's playing for them, U.S. Men's International. You have a lot of talent that has just been producing so much for them, that they are going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. Austin FC have clinched their first playoff in their short history in the MLS, as they're on 55 points and are secured in second with only one game left. Another Texas team, Dallas, in third on 50 points, secured their playoff ticket.
You missed a good opportunity for at the end of Austin. All right,
man. Here we go. Los Angeles Galaxy confirmed their spot. They are in the playoffs. They are secured. Kind of a late surge from them, as it is kind of the forgotten team in LA. I don't want to say forgotten because it's still the Galaxy, but with LAFC playing as well as they have, just they've been chugging along and they've been good. And they've been on a pretty good streak as of late, and they're in. They secured it. They only drew 1-1 to Real Salt Lake on the weekend, who are still in a playoff contention we'll get to here in a bit. But I wasn't expecting the Galaxy to really get in, but they beat San Jose, Colorado, Vancouver, drew with Nashville, drew with Sporting, drew with Toronto, beat New England, drew with Seattle, beat Vancouver in their last, what was that, 8 to 10 games there? So that's picking up a lot of points in a short period of time that kind of surged them up the table. Nashville secured their spot on the weekend with 47 points, and they are currently sitting fifth. Now, LAFC on the weekend beat Portland by the score of 2-1, and that puts Portland on the brink of maybe not making the playoffs. They are still in it right now on 46 points, sitting in sixth. Minnesota United, sitting in seventh on 45th point, becomes your playoff teams that are in those spots but could lose them depending on if other results go against them. So some big games for Portland, who have never missed the playoffs, I don't think, in their history. Or is that Seattle? It's one of the two. The games on Sunday, which we'll go through here in a bit, will be quite interesting as it's known as a decision day in the MLS. Vancouver Whitecaps, Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake in 8th, Vancouver in 9th are the other two teams still in contention for the playoffs in the West. Teams that are currently eliminated. My Colorado Rapids in 10th on 42 points were eliminated this past weekend, as is the Seattle Sounders.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody thought that was
no, but still a very successful season for them, right? They become the first team in the modern era to win the CONCACAF Champions League, right? First MLS team, that is. So still a very good season for them. Just don't think they really got firing. Rui Diaz missed a lot of games, and you can see how much of the impact that had on the team and how much they missed. Jordan Morris never really started getting going. So we expect Seattle to be back next year. Sporting KC, another kind of surprising team who's been kind of a mainstay in the layoffs in the past several years, are eliminated as they sit in 12th, along with Houston Dash, who's sitting 13th, and then
Dynamo.
Dynamo.
I do that.
Who's sitting third? Say what?
I do that all the time.
All the time. And then San Jose Earthquakes sitting 14th as the last team in the West.
What you're telling me is this picture is very wide open still.
Yes.
Oh, without question.
Yes.
And, to be honest, for a team like LAFC to be firing right now is kind of the perfect thing. If they can carry that momentum throughout the playoffs, that could carry them straight to the final.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen over and over and over.
Yep.
Not
absolutely could.
That's like ruling the season, but the one that ruled that last 20% of the season.
Yeah. Exactly. On to decision day this Sunday, October 9th. So how the MLS do this? All of the East teams play at one time at 2:30. And then all of the West teams play at one time at 5 o'clock. Some big games here. Atlanta United and New York City FC. Not the biggest of games. Atlanta's already in it. New York, as we kind of went over, they're pretty much going to kind of stay there in that third, fourth spot. So don't really expect too much in this one. Maybe just some flopping and some seeding places. Chicago, New England, both out of it. Doesn't mean a whole lot. DC United, last team up against Cincinnati, who, again, are fighting for a spot to stay in there. So if you're Cincinnati, you like your chances right now playing against a DC team who really hasn't been all that good this year, but they are playing at DC at Audi Field.
And if you're DC, you have a chance to really still allow yourself to impact the playoffs, right? There's a lot of teams that are like, well, let's go out there and win this one so that we shake things up.
Yeah. And they absolutely could, because it would certainly be interesting, if they did get a result here. Now, your next game is interesting from the perspective of Miami are still fighting for it, obviously, and more will be known after Wednesday. But they're playing Montreal, who, yes, is secured in the playoffs, but could pick that first spot off. Yeah. Could pick that first spot off in the East and get a first-round bye. So Miami's going to have their hands full, as Montreal is going to want that. Now, the Philadelphia Union, of course, do play. They play Toronto FC. They're playing in Philly, though, so that's going to help. But Toronto, dangerous on the attack, could cause some problems. I don't really think it's going to happen. And odds are, Philadelphia will be the odds-on favorite to win that game. But if they drop points and Montreal do their job and get the win, they could find themselves in first.
I like Philly's odds more than I like Montreal's odds.
I agree. Red Bulls in Charlotte. Red Bulls already in it, affecting seeding for them maybe. And Charlotte just fighting and trying to get a win on the last day of the year. Definitely the tie in the East to keep an eye on. Orlando and Columbus. Yeah. Two teams that play on Wednesday. Two teams that will probably still be in the fight come Sunday. So a huge game here in Orlando at 2:30 at Exploria Stadium. I think. Are you going to that game? Are you planning on going to that game? Yeah. So we will be in attendance at that game, and we'll see. Hopefully, we get a result against Miami, and we'll see what Columbus has in store. All right, moving over to the West as we kind of run through that and wrap up our soccer talk for the evening. Austin play Colorado. Seeding not much of a thing here for them, as they're pretty much secured in that second spot. Not going to catch LAFC, and Dallas aren't going to catch them, even if Dallas win their game. Who is playing Kansas City, already out of it. So two teams, not really going to affect seeding too much. Both playing two teams out of it in Colorado and Kansas City, respectively. Galaxy play the Dash, also a team out of it. Could affect some seeding for the Galaxy. Could find them if Dallas do drop points. Could find themselves in third. Nashville, who take on LAFC, if they lose, it kind of secure that spot for the Galaxy, both in the playoffs, but seeding here, right? Because they're all going to eventually play each other. LAFC is the only team that's going to get a first round bye on this. Over on the West, that's already secured. So nobody's going to get a bye. They're all going to play each other now. Just kind of who plays each other in that first round of the playoffs. Minnesota and Vancouver. Minnesota still in it in seventh. Vancouver still in it in ninth. Big game that's
going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Playing at Allianz Field in Minnesota. So I'm sure they're thanking their stars that they're home on that last day, because that may come in huge as they take on a Vancouver team, just fighting to get into the playoffs. Real Salt Lake and Portland. Again, Salt Lake right there in eighth, fighting for a spot at 44 points. Portland in 46 points. If Salt Lake win this, they're in. For all intents and purposes, they're in if they win this against Portland. It's in Salt Lake, not at Portland. You would like Portland's chances a hell of a lot more if it's at Portland, but up there in the altitude of Salt Lake, ESPN2, big game at 5:00, and then Seattle and San Jose, just kind of a throwaway game as both teams are out of it. But that Real Salt Lake and Portland and Orlando City and Columbus game that we will be at are probably your two ties to really keep an eye on. to really help determine the playoffs here on decision day this Sunday for the MLS.
Did you bring us home, Ferris?
That's it, baby.
All righty. Well, that wraps us up for today. Before we wrap things up, as always, follow us, on thebrutalgame.com. You can find all other socials there, Twitter, Facebook, and however you listen to us, Apple Podcasts, whatever. You can leave us a review. It really helps us. Or tell your friends about the show. If you leave a review, take a screen grab or something, get it to us, and we will get a sticker or a koozie or something out your way. And let's do our beer mentions for the pod. I myself had my Wiseacre from Memphis, Tennessee's Oktoberfest Gemütlichkeit.
Nice.
I think that's as good as it's going to get. That's what I had. You go right ahead, Ron.
We had 2 different beers from a monastery just in Upper Bavaria, just outside of Munich, called Kloster Andex. And we had their Weissbier Hells and their Weissbier Dunkel.
Excellent. And as if I didn't say before, so I don't think I did, for all the socials, Untapped. We'll get these beers up Untapped, but make sure you follow us there. It's a great way to see what beers we have going on. And if you go back to Ron's German expeditions, gorgeous pictures from all over Germany and Switzerland.
And I posted them on our website too, so check out our website for all the crazy beer pictures.
Yeah, those are cool, man.
Yeah, the Brutal Game previous episode 175, right? Has those on there. Boom. All right, gents. Well, it's the lion himself, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Hold on. I said Gemütlich correctly. I said it wrong already. I can't say Zlatan Ibrahimovic correctly. It is Zlatan Ibrahimovic's, the lion himself's, birthday today. So I'm excited to know what Ferris has got in store for us for.
I'm surprised there wasn't a shrine.
Right?
You remember we did that once?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The lights got off.
Blake, do you still have the picture of that framed?
Of Zlatan kicking, or the picture of you doing the seance?
The kicking, him kicking that I framed, and it was in the studio for a while. That's how I finally just found my studio equipment. I found the box that is all the studio stuff. So yes, I did find that. I've not found your Manchester United glass yet. Still got to get to that. Oh yeah,
it's broken.
The pint glass,
1,000 pieces.
Backed up, yeah.
But the real question is, what have you done with the Kalen Kyle picture?
Oh, the signed one, yeah.
Oh, they're all safe. I haven't gotten to. I literally pulled enough up to go. That's where the scissor arm for the mic is, and I got that out and the mic stand. I got to go back and get all that rest of the stuff out.
Fair enough.
Because while I got this desk set up, I don't have a storage situation in here yet, because like my shelves and stuff would be where my wife's currently, we're sharing the space for her voiceover studio, so I don't have space to put things yet. Gotcha. But I can record proper. That was the main goal.
Fair enough.
So what you got, Ferris? What's the birthday quote for Mr. Ibrahimovic?
Okay, I'm trying to find a few that we haven't gone over quite yet. To the birthday boy. Love this one because of the weekend. You might have expected Guardiola to say a few words in response, but he's a spineless coward. Doesn't hold back on his old manager when he was at Barca.
You just made the biggest rock eyebrow I've ever seen.
Love it.
That was great. Well, this past yesterday, I spent time at a pumpkin patch. We did a big old fall festival thing, and we went and did a corn maze, which I've never actually done before. So we did a corn maze, and my daughter had the best time. And there were 3 corn mazes. The first one you could find different, like a scavenger hunt. The second one had dad jokes.
Oh no!
So I collected those. Do you have another quote? Because it's okay if you do.
Sure.
You get it ready, because I have more than one. So I'll throw one of these out for you.
Go ahead.
That I collected. What do you get when you drop a pumpkin? Squash.
When the red card happened, the worst thing was the Chelsea players. I felt like there were 11 babies around me on being sent off for PSG at Stamford Bridge in the Champions League in 2015.
Why was the gourd so gossipy?
I don't know.
To give him pumpkin to talk about.
If Ernie still wants to move next summer, I would urge him to come and play with me in Paris, but he would have to get used to the fact that Zlatan scores even better goals than him when asked about when Ernie's reported to move to PSG.
Why was Cinderella so bad at football? She had a pumpkin coach.
Oh.
Come on, Ferris. You got one more? I got one more.
I got one more. Presenter. Lionel Messi. Zlatan. Fantastic. Cristiano Ronaldo. Zlatan. Good. Presenter. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Wow.
I love that man. Here's my last one. What's a pumpkin's favorite movie? Pulp Fiction.
Oh, that was the best one. Glad you
said that one to end it. Yeah. That was one that sealed it together.
When I went in there and went, is that a debt? Is that what's through this whole maze? Oh, yeah. I just started.
You loved life at that point.
I did. It was fantastic.
Blake's happy place.
Yep. No need to hide in the day. I just was going to embrace the bad.
Awesome.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. As always, love the beer. Cherish the game. The beautiful game. Cheers, gents.
All right.
Prost!
London is red, 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 red.